If you're watching this anywhere other than my website, you should go to my website because there's more tutorials there. It's jasoncalhoun.net. Now, on to the tutorial. As soon as I stop this. Hi there, you. I don't know your name. That's why I went generic with you. Today, I have a new tutorial. Clearly, that's why you're watching this. Sorry, I have to read this. I do not want to update screen capture software, whatever you're called. Sorry, I'm distracted tonight. It's late. So today I'm going to be showing you a project that I'm working on. We're going to be working in After Effects and doing some very simple text effects, but they're effective for at least the kind of project that I'm working on, and I think probably, hopefully, for you. It's pretty handy, and I've actually learned a few things doing it. So I'm going to first show you what this is going to look like, this text effect. Again, it's very simple, it's very subtle, but it's cool. So I'm going to just show you the project that I'm working on and then show you how easy it is to do. So let's jump in. I'm in Premiere right now, but you'll see the final effect here. So here it is.
Life. Is it our pulse? Is it the space we occupy?
So it's kind of this,
How do we measure life?
very subtle, shuddery,
numbers?
shaky text with some cool kind of transitional pieces
Is it
in
something
there.
we've gained?
And then I'll show you how I did this background
Is it
also. It's
something
pretty
we've
simple. I'll
lost?
show you how to do this whole thing. Hopefully in 20 minutes.
Is it defined?
So that's it in a nutshell. It's just this kind of text that, see, there's some cool, just basic,
It's
simple
death.
stuff, but pretty effective. So somebody sent me this this track with a VO, with a voiceover, somebody speaking these words. So let's turn this off just so you can listen to that.
Is it our pulse?
So if you're doing something similar to this, where you need to match text to, I think my daughter's here. Hello, Miss Rose. I'm gonna pause this for you. And I'm back. I hit the microphone. So if you have something similar to this, where you have like somebody speaking a recorded VO, it doesn't have to be a VO, it can be a live person on camera, they're talking, and you want your text to match what they're saying, and obviously timing becomes important because you want your text to match what they're saying. And so what can be difficult is in After Effects, you can play back audio, but it just gets, for me, a little bit tricky trying to, because After Effects doesn't play in real time, it gets a little bit tricky trying to do like a RAM preview every time to match the audio to the text and get your timing right. It just is kind of a pain. So what I did is I came in here in Premiere first, and I have my audio track here. And all I did is created all of the text in Premiere, just super basic text. And what these texts are, just they're kind of like placeholders or timing holders or timing, I forget what I call them, but I'll show you what that looks like. It's just simple text.
Is it our pulse?
You can see it doesn't even line up. It's just all
Is
for
it the
timing.
space we occupy?
And so, but I have it timed exactly
we
the way I
measure
want my After Effects
life?
text to be timed, you can see. And
Is
the
it in
blue
num-
is just to signify that at this point in the music changes, and this is where I want the background to change. So it's like there, the strings
Is it
hit.
in numbers?
So you can see it's just simple text, and it's just placeholder text. It's just kind of a timing map for me, because what I do is I render this out, and then I bring this into After Effects, and that's what this video is. You can see it's just a smaller frame, which is why it's smaller. But what I'm able to do is just use this as just a timing map again, and I can see that for this section, this is how long I need this text to be. It's just right there, because I can just play along and I can see where my text changes. And I can also see what the text is saying so that I don't get confused as to which lines I have done and haven't done. And then once I get my text, that's what I was doing with this piece of text, was just checking my timing map, if you will, this video here, and checking the time of it. I know that it needs to be that long, so I I know how long I need this text to be. And then before I render it, and while I'm working, I just turn it off so that it's not there. So just maybe a little handy tip for you if you're trying to get the timing right in After Effects. It's much easier to start in Premiere, just set some very basic blocks up for your timing that you can bring into After Effects to use for your timing. Okay, so now that we know our timing, you add your text. Now let's get into how we make this text look sort of cool. So it's kind of this cool transition that happens at the beginning and end of every piece of text. It's just kind of this light sweep, sort of like, it's not just a fade up, it's a little bit cooler than that. And when you play it back in real time, it's subtle, but it's just pretty cool. And then same thing is going to happen at the end here. So let's start there with how we get that little effect. And it's very simple. You can see what it is CC Spotlight. And you can find that if you go into Effects and into, I think it's Distort. No, it's not Distort. Simulate. No, kidding. I don't like when people say kidding. I'm not going to say that. I don't know what it's under. But if we go over here to this Effects and Presets tab and type in CC Spotlight, we see that it's in perspective. So that's where you can find CC Spotlight. So drag that over to your text. And what this allows you to do, and what you can actually see is happening at the beginning here, is if I click on that layer and hit U to bring up my keyframes for this layer, you can see that what is keyframed is the cone angle of CC Spotlight. This one right here, cone angle. And what cone angle does is it basically expands the light out. So if I were to bring like the softness down, you'd probably be able to see it a little bit better. It might be, yeah, maybe not. Let's bring it down a little bit. So anyways, what it's doing, you know what I'll do? Actually, this will be easy. I just don't want to screw up all my work already. So I'm just going to turn this effect off and I'll add a new one so that I can actually show you what it does. So CC Spotlight, we'll grab this, we'll drag it to this layer. And what you'll see is that you have these two little circular fellows here. And you can see that this one controls, you see the spotlight. And this one controls the angle of that spotlight. So I can make it very small, just directly on this piece of text, just like a spotlight would. Or I can change kind of the angle of this spotlight. And then I also have control here of the softness of the beam. You see there if that's a very harsh edge, or I can soften that edge up quite dramatically. And then I also have control of the intensity. What all that means is that how dark the outside of the light gets. Like, do you want it to fall off to black completely, or do you want to still be able to see that the text that's not directly hit by the beam? How do you want this? And you can see on mine up here, the one that I'm doing, I have this set to about 107, which just means it's completely black. And so all that I do for this effect is I get this spotlight on here somewhere, somehow. And then you can see that this cone angle, now you can see what cone angle does. It just makes the spotlight itself, it changes the size of that spotlight. So I can make it really big so that it hits a broad area. I need to move this down a little bit. And you see how you just kind of play around here to get it to be what you want it to be. And then I just change the cone angle. Whoops, not on that one, on this one. I change the cone angle, and I just keyframe that. So I start with black, and then I just keyframe it up. And it gives you this cool kind of expanding fade up that's cooler than just a typical fade up. Now there's a couple of ways to get the same effect, but this is the easiest, I think. So that's that effect. It's pretty neato, right? The second one that I will show you that's applied here, and this one is pretty subtle. It's quite subtle. Actually, it might not be doing much at all now. And that is my light. Oh, I see why. My light is way over here. I've let a few renders go out without the light. Interesting. Okay, so, which is fine. Anyways, what the light does, now you'll be able to see its effect. You can see that it's doing a couple of things. You can see that obviously the edges, kind of this vignette, are moving in and out. And you can adjust, I'll show you how you can adjust that. But you can see my light here just barely. You can see the wireframe of my light. And you can just see that my light is just moving all over the place to give me that effect. And what's also happening, and you're not seeing this very well, but it's also flickering. The light is flickering on the text. It's very, very subtle. It's actually way too subtle. I probably need to tweak that a little bit. So let me show you how I get that effect. It's very simple. All I did is if I twirl down my light options, you can see that I added the wiggle expression to intensity so that I get that kind of flickering effect. And again, it's very subtle, so I might change the strength of that. Maybe make this 50. And that should, oops, make this 50 without a space. It's a little bit better. It's still really subtle. And I think part of the reason it's so subtle is because of, CC Spotlight's not on. Okay, anyways, I just noticed that. I thought part of the reason was CC Spotlight, but I don't think it is. Well, anyways, so I have the wiggle expression applied to intensity and applied to cone angle. And what that's going to do is adjust the same thing that the CC Spotlight cone angle does for the spotlight. It just adjusts this outside diameter and the size of that diameter, so that that expression is just causing the outside diameter to get larger and smaller. And so if you don't know about the wiggle expression or expressions at all, let me show you how they work. It's pretty simple. I won't go into details here because this tutorial isn't about expressions, and I'll show you how you do this. Let's say I wanted to change the color of this light. That's not a good one. Let's change, I don't know, whatever. We want to change the radius of the light. What I'm going to do is click on the stopwatch, but instead of just clicking on it, I'm going to hold Option. And when I do, it opens up this little panel, which allows me to type in an expression. Again, I'm not going to go into what expressions are, but there's a lot of them and a lot you can do with them. Wiggle is probably the most commonly known expression and the one that I certainly use the most. All you do is type in wiggle, open parentheses, some number. So for me, maybe I'll type in 50, comma, and then another number, maybe 45, close parentheses, and then you click. Actually, you don't click the keyboard. You press buttons on the keyboard. So you press the enter button, and that enters this expression. But that's it. So that's how I get that light flickering sort of effect. And then if you see here, now see this. Oh, my this expression's gone too. I mean, the camera's gone, which adds this wiggle effect. You can see that now that I brought my camera over, you can see that my text is jumping a little bit. It has this it's very subtle, but it does have sort of an old frame kind of shutter shaky kind of effect. You can see very subtle, but that text is shaking a little bit. And how I did that was I added a camera, which means that you need to enable the layers that you want affected by the camera. You need to enable 3D on. And then when I add the camera, if I twirl down my camera options, actually I need to twirl down the transform options. You can see that I've added that same expression, wiggle, to the orientation. And what that does is just shakes the camera a little bit. You can see that the value I set for, I think before when I was explaining what these two numbers represent, I think I did it backwards because I think the second number dictates the amount. No, maybe that's right. The amount, in this case, the amount of the wiggle, the amount of the shake. And you can see that I have it set extremely low, 0.02%. And 8.0 is I believe the wiggle, what would you call that? Intensity, the wiggle intensity. So very subtle, but that's how I get that shake. And the reason I did this, and this is where this comes in handy if you're working on a project similar to mine, where you're going to have a lot of text. You're not just going to have one line, but you're going to have multiple lines of text, and you want them to all look similar and have the same sort of effects applied to them. That's where it benefits you to add like a light and a camera, because now I can add multiple layers of text. As you can see, I have. This is all text. And you can see if you go down my timeline, it's just, basically I'm following this timing map, that I created in Premiere. And I'm just working my way through this timing map. As you can see, if I turn it back on, I'm just working my way through it. And all I'm doing is I'm taking, so like, let's say when I first started, I had this piece of text. I'm just copying and pasting that text, and I'm sliding it down here, making subtle adjustments to it. Obviously, the text itself I'm changing, but then maybe some other subtle adjustments. But all this text is going to be affected the same way by the same camera and the same light. So it's all going to look very similar. So it's a pretty fast process. I mean, it's time consuming in the sense that you're having to go, text line by text line and render them out individually is what I'm doing, is rendering them out individually. And I'll show you why I'm doing that in a second. But anyways, that just gives you some consistency to the text. So you can see some of the changes I might need to make is, like for instance, death is being cut off. And we do not want to cut off death. So all I'm going to do is pull my light back in Z space. So we should be death. See, death isn't being hit quite as much now. There we go. Okay, so that in a nutshell is how I created this very simple sort of text transition and very simple text effects. It's really just CC Spotlight on the text itself to get the transition, and a camera that's shaking a little bit. And, I had two lights. I wonder if I was adjusting the wrong light. That could have been the problem. Why do I have two lights? I shouldn't. Maybe I want that light gone. Huh. You learn something new every day. And then a spotlight. And that's all it is. Now, last thing I will show you is the reason that I am rendering each line of text out individually. And the way I'm doing that is with this range selector, this thing right here. So whatever is selected on my timeline, when I hit composition, add to render queue, it's only going to render what was within that range selector. And I believe I can tell it that somewhere in here, somewhere hidden away, for us to never find. Oh, there it is. Time span. So I have this set to work area only. I can set this to length of comp, and then it'll render out my entire composition. But I've have this set as I do to work area only. It will only render, surprise, it'll only render what's within this work area. So what that does, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, just showing you how I'm working on this thing. But what that does is, if I go into my project folder, which is pretty well organized, as should yours be, I go into intro and I go into export. So you can see all of the various After Effects exports that I have made. Some of them have multiple lines of text, but for the most part, it's just kind of one text animation. One line of text. So what that lets me do is, if I come back into Premiere, you can see that I have multiple clips, and each clip contains one line of text. So what I can do is if, for instance, and this is happening on this project I'm working on, if, for instance, the people working on your audio, which might be you or might be another team, they're sending me a new updated track tomorrow, and the timing of this read is going to be different. And so if I had rendered out just a single composition out of After Effects, if I just rendered out, this entire composition, I would be in trouble, because if they change like this piece of dialogue right here, you can see it in the waveform, if they move that like over here, like I'm screwed in a sense, because all I have is one clip with all of my text, and it was all timed perfectly to the way that the timing was set before. But if I render out individual lines of text, it's just like multiple clips, and I can just slide these around anywhere I want and put this line of text anywhere. So if they do give me an updated track and the timing's a little bit different, it's very easy for me to update my timeline rather than going back into After Effects and re-rendering the timing here. So that is why I am rendering out each individual line individually, which is, it's very easy to do. All I do is highlight it with the range selector and go up and add it to my render queue and then render them out. So it really doesn't take a whole lot more time. It takes a little bit more time in the beginning. I mean, it does, but it saves you a lot of time in the end if there are timing changes. So let me show you the background real quick. Last little, see, I told you this is really simple. I told you guys. So this background here, I'm just gonna play for you the background itself, and
Is it
I lost my render.
we occupy?
Let me turn the audio off. It's annoying. So you can see it starts with some stars here. It's not in real time, which is why it's acting like this. And I have this texture in the back. I have some stuff going on. This was extremely easy to create with a few assets that I have, which I will put on my website for you so that you can download them. Actually, I don't own all of them, so I can only put some of them, but this is very easy to do. Let me go back in After Effects and show you that comp. It's this one right here. So this is made up of, so this is the background. You can see there's actually quite a few layers involved, I suppose. But that's actually because I've just duplicated layers to make it longer. So what it's made up of is, let me move forward a little ways. So I start with some stars, and I got these stars on Vimeo, and it is actually a sunrise time lapse. I don't think it's that one. It's this one, I believe. Yeah, it's this one. So this guy did an amazing time lapse, and you can see the stars. There's actually some shooting stars in there. It's super, super cool. And again, I found that on Vimeo. And what you need to do, though, is just be careful here. So you go to Vimeo, and you search like a stars time lapse. Now, this is what you want to do if you want to be safe. Is after you've searched for that, you go to show advanced filters for your search. And now I can search only HD, and I can search is downloadable. And here's the thing, you can choose the type of license just to make sure you're safe and you've chosen a license that is okay for you to use. So so you find your maybe your stars here, which is what I started with. And so that's time-lapse 3. So let's see which... okay, time-lapse 3. So let me just highlight that piece of video by itself. So it looks like this. I mean, all I did was... this is... Man, I should do this again just to show you. All I did is created a mask around this... shoot, I'll just show you what I did. Create a new composition. Okay, and I'll drop in that time-lapse. Okay, so obviously it's not quite the same size, and I want to get rid of all this, so I'm going to mask it out by clicking on the rectangle tool and just clicking and dragging it over the section that I want to keep, which is this section right about here. So now I just have the section that I want to keep, and now what I'm going to do is just hit S to rescale this. I'm going to rescale it until it about fills my screen. Perfect. So now I have just stars and clouds here, which is really cool. The second thing I did was I grabbed this, and this is really cool, that somebody else made. It's just a background motion asset, though. You can find these online for free all over the place. And all I did is resized this one. It's not resized perfectly, but this is just to show you what I did. And I changed the composite mode to something like, I don't know, hard light or overlay, whatever makes you happy. Overlay looks cool. This one's going to be a little bit different than the one I use. But so you get a little bit of this texture over the top. And then I think I also added a fast blur to this just to soften it up a little bit so that it blends in a little bit more. So I just soften it up a little bit. So you just get this kind of moving image behind it. And then I think, let's go back to it and look at it. I don't know, I may have, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Oh, that's right. So the other thing you can do real quick is go into layer, create a new solid. So you have a new solid, make this solid like, maybe not black, maybe, this is gonna be a vignette, by the way. So let's, whatever we want our vignette color to be, maybe a dark, dark blue. I hit OK. So I have this solid over everything. All I need to do is go up to my rectangle tool, click and hold, and I want my ellipse tool. All I have to do is now that it's set to ellipse tool, just double click it and it automatically creates the elliptical mask. But it's wrong, right? Because I want it to be a, what do you call this? A vignette. And instead I just have a big circle. So mask, now that I have a mask created, I'm just gonna twirl down mask and invert it. You see? So now I have an outside edge and a circle. Boy, I'm not making any sense. It's too late. Anyways, you can see that it's kind of the start of a vignette. All I need to do is soften it up. So I just bring up the feather amount. And you can see that now I have a cool vignette. If I change this composite type to maybe overlay, look how cool that is. And then maybe I hit T to bring up opacity. And I just bring back the opacity to whatever makes me happy. And now I have a cool vignette that's very customizable. I can change, the shape of this vignette to, I don't know, whatever I want. Make it a little bit darker. So now we have a vignette around it. The last thing that I did is I simulated this sunrise. You can see it does have an actual sunrise in it, which actually looks super cool. That's awesome. But what I did is I wanted to add a lens flare, and the lens flares that I use, these do not come with After Effects, so if you don't have them, you can use the stock After Effects lens flare. Let me show you how to do that real quick. Layer, new, solid. This time we want it to be solid black. Hit OK. Now we can go up to Effect. We can go to Simulate. Nope, let's not go to Simulate. Let's go to something like Generate. And you can see here we have lens flare. So After Effects comes with these standard lens flares. They're fine. The one I used to use a lot was the 105mm prime. And so now it's obviously black. So to get rid of the black, all we need to do is change this composite mode again from normal to overlay. That gets rid of the black. Nope, not overlay. That's dumb. Let's use screen. Now we have a lens flare. And I can move this wherever I want. So I can keyframe this lens flare to follow the actual sun rise, and I can have a lens flare. You see there. But I don't use the stock lens flare. You can make it work totally fine. I'm not going to go into that. What I use, and if you like lens flares, I recommend getting it, is optical flares. You can get this from videocopilot.org, I think, .net, videocopilot.net. And if I hit options on this plugin, it opens up my lens flare window, and I can choose something like the sun one, which is way too bright. I can change this in a lot of ways, but so I'll just make it like that, change the brightness, whatever. And now I can keyframe this to follow the sun, and I have these lens flares. I can actually move the sun wherever I want, you see, because it looks like the sun, doesn't it? So we can just move the sun anywhere. Pretty hip. So that's how I did it. That's how I created the background in a nutshell. I took all those elements after they were rendered out, put them in Premiere, and that's what you get. So that's it. It's pretty simple. but it's pretty effective. And you can see that. I mean, that's the basics of it, but you can see that it's pretty powerful. You can do some cool things with it to get some cool looking text. You can see that I varied each piece of text a little bit. This one has, as it goes out, has that same CC light lens, CC spotlight effect. They all come in and out that way. Here's the next one. See, same thing. It starts with that little bit of spotlight and it just opens up. When you play it back, it looks cool. And this I just animated, just move the text. That's pretty simple. So anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching this tutorial. I will talk to you later. There you are. I was looking for you, but you're right there.